And welcome back to another NFL conversation here on Sportsnaut.com. And today we are joined by Jeffri Chahida, who is a senior columnist for NFL.com. And we're talking preseason week 2 takeaways. There's still a couple weeks left here before things get real here in the NFL, but we're excited to discuss it here with you today, Jeffri.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, no problem. All right, let's get right to it. I want to get some of your thoughts on one of the quarterback battles that has now been determined. We go out to Las Vegas for this one. Head coach Antonio Pierce has decided to go with Gardner Minshew as his week 1 starter over Aiden O'Connell. So I just want to get some of your thoughts on Minshew mania and whether or not he gives this Raiders offense the best chance to be successful.
Well, he does give him the best chance to be successful. He's a veteran quarterback. He's had some level of success everywhere he's played, from Jacksonville to on down the road to Indianapolis last year. And let's be honest, Aiden O'Connell last year, there wasn't a ton of trust in what they could do with him offensively. I watched him against the Chiefs at the end of the year when they beat them, and I think he threw like 5 passes in the whole game. So it seemed as if Minshew gave them more opportunities to be successful. But they had a big draft pick in Brock Bowers at tight end, so they want to be able to use him. And I think they want to find a way to have a quarterback of the future. And playing Minshew, having Minshew there is probably their best opportunity to compete in the AFC West.
Yeah, and I think he does offer some other things in terms of mobility and being able to make some plays with his legs, and that's just something O'Connell, at least last year, didn't show that he could do. Yeah. So not surprised as well. Another one of the situations, quarterback situations or battles, I guess you could call it, that I want to ask you about is the one in Pittsburgh. Now, I know Mike Tomlin has said that Russell Wilson is in the pole position. Those were his words. He got his first action of the preseason on Saturday night against Buffalo. It didn't go well for Russell Wilson. Unfortunately for Justin Fields, when he was given his opportunity in that game, he didn't necessarily do anything to convince Mike Tomlin that he should be the starter in Pittsburgh. It's a little bit of a quarterback conundrum right now for Mike Tomlin. How do you see this all playing out here in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, right now the only good thing about the Pittsburgh quarterback situation is the cost. It's relatively inexpensive to have both those guys there, but neither one has really done a whole lot to create confidence at this stage. Now there's other factors playing into it, offensive line play, and Russell Wilson was hurt. But you'd like to have seen Russell Wilson start fast, be stable, and then have Justin Fields show some flashes and be able to grow and develop. And what's happening more now is that you're seeing Justin Fields looks like the better option just because Russell Wilson can't avoid pressure anymore. He's taking a lot of sacks. Even though Fields has turned the ball over with fumbles and hasn't been as great in the pass game, he still has those legs. He's still going to improvise. And if you're looking for somebody to give you some excitement, some spark, he's the better option right now. So, it feels as if this whole thing that we thought was going to be a simple process in Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson setting up Justin Fields, is turning into Russell Wilson career fading and Justin Fields hopefully not turning into a disaster.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there on Justin Fields, especially with Arthur Smith now being the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. He's going to want to run the ball, and I think you could utilize some of that Justin Fields running ability by utilizing that read option, and he could bring a whole other element to that offense because, Russell Wilson just doesn't move as well as he once did. How concerned, there's no quarterback controversy here in with the Giants, but how concerned should Giants fans be with what we saw from Daniel Jones in week 2 of the preseason? Now, I have to be fair. This was his first action since returning from the ACL tear, but 2 interceptions on his first 3 series, one of them for a pick 6. That could not have been what Brian Daboll wanted to see from Daniel Jones, considering the fact that we know that the Giants tried to replace or look for a replacement at least for Daniel Jones in the offseason. So what are some of your thoughts there in New York?
It may not be a controversy that we're accustomed to seeing, but it's a controversy. The way he played, the way he looked, the way he's been playing. And I said this back when they went through the draft and took Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is an exceptional talent. I think he'll be a phenomenal player in this league. But Daniel Jones, like the time had come to move on, to look for somebody else. And it's no knock on who he is as a person. I think he's a decent guy. I don't know him, but he seems to be a nice guy who works really hard and had some tough luck with injuries. But he's been around long enough and played enough football for you to know what he is. And what we're seeing now, what we saw over the weekend, is one more example about why this team is not going to be able to succeed with him at quarterback. And again, it's like taking J.J. McCarthy made a lot of sense. They didn't do it. Now, granted, he's out with a knee injury, but next year they're going to be looking for a new quarterback. And I don't think Daniel Jones is going to do anything this year to change that possibility.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, I'm interested to get your opinion on this as well. I think what's interesting in New York is that Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll kind of tied together, because I think when you look at coaches who may be on the hot seat entering the 2024 season, Brian Daboll could be one of those guys. And I know that he played most of the season without Jones last year, but if things get ugly for the Giants, I would not be surprised, December, to hear the chatter of possibly Daboll, being on the hot seat. What do you think about that?
Oh, I totally agree with you. And I'm sure Brian Daboll, if he was the one calling the shots in the draft room, back in April, would have been saying, let's take a quarterback, because at least I get a reset. I get to coach somebody who I brought in here, who I believe in. And like, there were times last year on the sidelines where it was clear Brian Daboll was done with Daniel Jones. And I think that specifically there was a big blow up they had that just, I think the takeaway was, when you're showing up your quarterback on the sidelines in much the same way that Sean Payton and Russell Wilson got to it late in the year last year in Denver, it's an indication that the relationship is fractured. And I just don't know a head coach who wants to be stuck with a quarterback he didn't believe in. And I can't speak for Brian Daboll, but it seems like the first year with Daniel Jones, he worked miracles. And ever since then, he's realizing how hard it is to keep working miracles with him.
Yeah, absolutely agree. 100% tough spot there for Brian Daboll. I want to ask you about Raheem Morris, his decision to not play Michael Penix. He's come out and said that Penix will not suit up in the final week of preseason after not playing at all in week 2 of the preseason. Now, we all know that Kirk Cousins is the starter in Atlanta and that Penix is the quarterback of the future. But as a young player, a rookie, don't you feel that these are valuable reps and valuable experience that Penix could get in the preseason, especially when you consider the fact that he may not play a snap if all goes according to plan to the Falcons. He may not play a snap all year. I just don't know why he wouldn't get him some valuable reps here. I'm just curious to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, the situation in Atlanta continues to be bizarre. Ever since they took Michael Penix, it's been a mystery as to how they're operating, and it continues to be a mystery. And I agree with you. I don't know why, if he's not going to be playing this year, you wouldn't take advantage of the opportunity to get him some reps in preseason. Even if he gets hurt, who cares? He's not playing. It's just like J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. It sucks that he got hurt, but the plan was to play Sam Darnold anyway. And so, yeah, I don't know. They must think Michael Penix is the second coming of Warren Moon or something like that. You just put him in a glass box, and when he's ready to play, you open it up, and there he goes to the Hall of Fame. But I don't get it, because at some point he's got to get reps. The he's 24 years old already. I mean, he's going to be 25, 26, 27 years old before he ever plays a snap in the NFL, a real snap. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I scratched my head when they drafted him, and I'm still scratching my head now that they're not going to put him out there. But we'll see. Smarter guys out there, I guess, than me in Atlanta making those decisions. It looks like the rich get richer here in Kansas City. I mean, they go out there and they trade up into the draft. They bring in the fastest player at the combine, Xavier Worthy. And I was watching their game. I was watching the replay of their game, and it looks like they have a legitimate weapon here with their new receiver, Xavier Worthy, to go along with some of the other guys they have there already. Now, I know that Hollywood Brown is going to be out for a few weeks with the injury, but it looks like this Chiefs offense has the chance to get back to where they were a couple years ago when they had Tyreek Hill and they were just so explosive.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think when you knew when Xavier Worthy showed up, there was going to be a lot of great possibilities along with Hollywood Brown. We'll see how long he's out, and Travis Kelce and Rasheed Rice in that gang. I try to temper expectations on Xavier Worthy. I know that he's got electric speed and he played well, but I'd also say he took a false start on one play. He fumbled on a reverse. He was playing against backup DB. So I always try to be mindful of those things. But I think long-term, he's going to be great with this offense. And I think that Andy Reid is going to know exactly how to use that speed. Mahomes is going to love throwing the football to him. And really, it's with Hollywood being out, I'm curious to see how he operates. I know Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, had talked about Justin Watson taking a step up. But I'd love to see what Xavier Worthy can do with more opportunities for more targets earlier in the year, because Rashee Rice could be suspended. Hollywood's going to be out. He's probably going to be their third best receiver at least. And so you want to be able to see him do more of what he showed on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be helpful for excuse me, Worthy is that it looks like Rashee Rice, at least where things currently stand, he's not going to be suspended this season, at least as far as we know. And so I think not having the pressure on Worthy to go out there and be expected to, have double digit targets and whatnot will do a lot for him. I see him better as, obviously a 2 or 3 type of wide receiver. And I think the key, as you mentioned it, Andy Reid is going to know how to scheme him up. We saw him used in a variety of different ways just in that week 2 preseason game. I saw him on the end around, as you mentioned. He ran the deep route, and he can just do so many things. And to pair him up with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is a scary thing for opposing defenses. I want to finish the conversation off here. We're inching closer and closer to the regular season. There's still a couple contract situations out there that have not been resolved. And I think that's going to continue to kind of dominate the conversation here as we try to fill that void here between opening night. But CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase, what are you hearing, or what is your gut telling you about which one of these deals could potentially get done first? And do you think that we are now just 2.5 weeks away from, as I mentioned, opening week? Do you think there's going to be more of a sense of urgency here with some of these teams?
Well, look, all these guys are under contract, so they got to be playing football if they want to get paid once the season starts. So I don't think there's going to be any question about what they're doing come the regular season. But CeeDee Lamb's situation to start there is really, to me, the simplest one to figure out, but it's also the one that's probably most complicated by what's happening with Brandon Ayuk and Jamar Chase. Like, those two guys Jamar Chase is not happening this year. It seems like the Bengals have made that clear. They're going to take their time with it. They've got T. Higgins still to deal with, and I'm sure giving Jamar Chase a new deal while T. Higgins is out there waiting for one is not a great way to operate. And it feels as if the Niners, I've said this before, that Ayuk is probably going to wind up coming back that way, just because the way they operated as far as letting him go out and seeing what's out there for as far as trade partners. I think once players see that, they're able to understand that your current team is not trying to screw you over, that it's hard to get these deals done. I think he's probably in the $30 million, $28, $29 million a year range, which is where Jalen Waddle is and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But going back to CeeDee Lamb probably wants to be where Justin Jefferson is at $35 million. And he's, as great as he was last year, the production isn't the same as what Justin Jefferson has done in Minnesota. So I think that's going to be tough for Dallas. But I think all three will get done. They'll all probably be in the $30, $35 million range, and we'll move forward. But it's a lot of receivers getting paid all of a sudden. And a lot of times that who's getting paid first determine who gets paid next.
Right. So just to double check here, do you feel that any one of these 3 situations could linger into the start of the season and potentially cause one or more of these guys to actually start missing games?
I don't. I feel like, Chase's, they've already told him what's going to happen. So I haven't heard him. He's at camp. He's not complaining about it. Ayuk, there's urgency there now because they've been out there talking to people, and it seems like the Niners have openly, publicly said they want to do something with him. So I think that will get done. And I think CeeDee Lamb's the best offensive player for the Cowboys. So to go into the first game of the season without your best offensive player doesn't make any kind of sense. So I think at least 2 will be done before the season starts, and Jamar Chase will get pushed into next year.
Absolutely. Those are your week 2 preseason takeaways. Jeffri, we appreciate your time, and you can follow Jeffri on X at Jeffri Chahida. Go out there and do that. He does a great job for NFL.com. And Jeffri, thank you for doing a great job for us here today.
No problem. Thanks again, man.